How you finish is who you are, not how you start. Starting is easy. Starting carries its own momentum, its own excitement, the fresh energy of a beginning that has not yet been tested by the friction of the middle or the fatigue of the long haul. Almost anyone can start. The world is full of starters. It is full of people who launched with fire and vision and the absolute certainty that this time will be different, and who fade, quietly and without announcement, somewhere in the middle distance where nobody is watching and the novelty is worn off, and the only thing left is the choice between continuing and not. The finishers are a different breed. And finishing is not just about reaching a destination. It is about the quality you bring to the final stretch, the effort you give when the effort could be forgiven for being less, the standard you hold when lowering the standard would be entirely understandable, the version of yourself you choose to be in the last 10% of any endeavor. When the audience is gone, the motivation has long since departed, and the only thing left is the decision about who you want to be when you cross the line. Finish strong. Not for anyone watching, for the person you are becoming, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And the version of you that chooses quality at the end, that refuses to coast, that will not allow the final stretch to be less than the first, is the version of you that builds a life worth looking back on. Welcome to Motivation Daily. This is the final push. This is where it counts. Let me tell you about Eliud Kipchoge, the greatest marathon runner in history, a man who broke the 2-hour barrier for the marathon, a barrier so long considered physiologically impossible that sports scientists had spent decades arguing over whether a human being was even built to do it. When he crossed that finish line, the running world changed. But what I want to talk about is not the finish line, it is the last 6 miles. In a marathon, the last 6 miles are where every runner's body is screaming to stop, where the glycogen stores are depleted and the muscles are in revolt, and the mind begins to negotiate in ways it does not at mile 10 or mile 15. This is where races are won and lost, not by the strongest starter, but by the person who holds their form, their pace, their standard, when everything biological is lobbying for less. Kipchoge's last 6 miles are legendary not because they are fast, though they are, but because they are consistent, because he does not allow the difficulty of the final stretch to degrade the quality of what he is doing. He finishes the way he runs, completely, without compromise. That is the standard. That is the one I'm asking you to hold for the final stretch of this period you are in. Think about what it means in the context of your own life right now. Whatever you have been working on, the project, the habit, the goal, the transformation, the end of any period is where most people give themselves permission to coast, to do enough, to technically complete the thing without bringing the full version of themselves to the finish. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the most valuable part of the process, not the result, but the identity that gets built by refusing to let the final stretch be less than the rest. Think about a surgeon completing a procedure in its final minutes. The surgery has gone well. The critical work is done. The outcome is almost certainly going to be positive. A surgeon who coasts in the final minutes of a procedure that is mostly finished is still a surgeon who coasts, and the patient on the table, the standard of the profession, the integrity of the craft deserves the same quality of attention in the last 5 minutes as in the first 5. The surgeon who finishes the way they started is not just a better surgeon, they are a different kind of person, the kind whose standards are not conditional on whether anyone will notice or whether it would be easier to let them slip. Think about a writer finishing the final chapter of a book they have been working on for years. The work is almost done. The story has been told. The final chapter is, in many ways, the least scrutinized. Readers are so invested in the resolution that they will forgive a lot if the ending lands. A writer who knows this and coasts through the final chapter is a writer who has let the standard of the whole work be undermined by the tiredness of the end. A writer who brings the same precision, the same care, the same commitment to the final chapter that they brought to the first, that writer has built something worth building, and they know it, and that knowing is part of who they become. Think about a parent who has been showing up for a teenager through the hardest stretch of adolescence, the conversations that went nowhere, the boundaries that were tested and held, the patient, daily, thankless, invisible work of staying present for someone who does not yet have the capacity to appreciate the presence. The end of this stretch is not visible. It does not have a clear finish line, but there are moments when the effort could be relaxed, when good enough is genuinely available. And the parent who refuses good enough, who brings the full version of their love and attention to the last conversation as they did to the first, is the parent whose relationship with that child survives adolescence and becomes something extraordinary on the other side. How you finish is who you are. So here is my final ask for this period we have shared. Whatever you were working on when this began, the goal, the habit, the standard, the version of yourself you said you were going to build, I want you to look at where you are and ask, did I finish the way I started? Not perfectly. Perfectly is not the standard. Fully. Honestly, with the same quality of commitment that the beginning deserved and the ending earns. If the answer is yes, honor that. Seriously and without embarrassment, honor the fact that you held the standard through the hard middle and brought it home. That is rare. That is who you are becoming. And if the honest answer is that the final stretch got a little less than the beginning, then this is the moment, right now, to bring everything you have left to the finish. Not tomorrow, when a new beginning offers its usual easy energy. Today, in the last stretch, where it is hardest and where it matters most. Eliud Kipchoge does not save himself for the next race. He gives everything to this one, right to the line, right to the end. So do you. Finish strong. Not because someone is watching, because you are. And you are the only audience that has ever truly mattered. Share this with everyone who has been on this journey alongside you and needs to hear the final push. Subscribe to Motivation Daily. We will be here tomorrow and every day after, ready to help you start the next chapter as strong as you finish this one. Drop a comment and tell me, what are you finishing strong on today? Name it. Own it. Then go deliver the best final stretch you have. We'll see you on the other side. Let's go.